Hello everyone. Let's begin with the sixth chapter called bureaucracy. What does this bureaucracy means? The bureaucracy is the administrative department of any services. Maybe it's central services or maybe the state services. So who runs the bureaucracy? Bureaucrats. Who are the bureaucrats? You can say the highly designated officers are called as the bureaucrats. Who has given the responsibility of management or the administration work? Like you had seen in so many movies, the elected members or the leaders, they have their assistant or they hand over the different work to assign different people. So these people are called as the bureaucrats. They have the power to take decision depending upon their role. And if you compare, these bureaucrats are not elected by elections. They are done by the procedure of the exams, or you can say the training, or just for the capability. So their job is permanent and not like the government. If any government gets changed, bureaucrats won't get changed. They keep their service as it is. So in this chapter we will take a detailed information about the bureaucrats, what kind of function they perform, what are the responsibilities they do. So before starting to this chapter, if you see in the textbook, we have few headlines. You can see these are the headlines of the any newspaper. So what it says, like we had a district collector orders curfew. You know what is the curfew, right? It is just a temporary ban on the public people's right. So who is the district collector? We had seen the district collector took the responsibility of the district, right? So district collector will be the bureaucrat, right? Like municipal commissioner represents the budget. We have always heard the name of municipal commissioner or the police commissioner also. So there are different services like security services or the civil services. You had many times seen the people came in a big car with the red light on top of the car. So these people are basically the highly qualified officers, right? So they are the bureaucrats. For example, if your persons you had seen in so many movies like IPS, IAS, so these are the bureaucrats. They works for the different departments. Finance secretary resign. So finance secretary resign is just a news, but who is the finance secretary? He is the bureaucrat. Divisional commissioner will review the revenue collection. So divisional commissioner is also the bureaucrat. So now you can easily identify the role of bureaucrats or what are the important role the bureaucrats play. In many movies we had seen the ministers, even the chief minister or the prime minister, they have the personal assistant or they have the people assigned for a different task. Or sometimes we had seen in a terrorist kind of movies where we have a secret agencies. So these people hand over the decision and they have the responsibility to carry on their work basis of that. So these are the bureaucrats. So what we had learned in the above box, a few posts like district collector, municipal commissioner, finance secretary and divisional commissioner are mentioned. These are civil servants in the government's administrative system. So they all are the civil servants and they are appointed through the civil services process. You might be thinking what are their function? Okay, they are not elected through the election. In the chapter which explained the role of union executive, we learned that the prime minister and council of ministers make proposals for new law and also decides upon policy. So bureaucracy, here we have a proper definition of it. Bureaucracy is the administrative system which works under the union executive and the responsibility of actual implementation of government's policy. If you compare the leaders, they don't have much knowledge about the any particular field. So how they function? They function with the help of bureaucrats, because bureaucrats are those people who have the knowledge of the particular field, and in the same way they support the function of government. So they are appointed under the union executive or the state executive to make the law in a proper way. Since the law are only passed by the parliament or by the government, but it should be implemented at a ground level so that the people should get benefit of it. So these people helps it. In this chapter we will understand the importance of bureaucracy. In any country, the government carries out two fundamental types of function. What are they? First, to defend the country from external aggression and internal forces or internal threats, to provide various services to citizens and ease their daily life, which will enable them to develop themselves and the society, and to make the things easy that people, those who are living in the society, they can get the benefit of it. The first function is to ensure security of the country. This is carried out by the service called the armed forces, right? Like we have the armed forces, like we have the military service forces, we have the paramilitary forces, we have the police forces. So in this way, for the people's security or the for the people's function, we have the civil servants. The role of internal security is carried out as aid to civil authority. For the second function, an administrative system is developed. We call it as civil services. And the people who are appointed for the civil services, we call them as a civil servants. The system of civil servants is also known as bureaucracy. And the same system of civil servant is called as bureaucracy. Okay, in many departments, in many functions, you had seen there are so many people who work for the plans or execute the plan. In parliamentary democracy, as we all know, in our country we follow the parliamentary democracy. So in parliamentary democracy, representatives elected by the people and the ministers have the responsibility of administration. The functions of government are discharged by various departments. Every department has a minister who is the political head of that department. We had seen there are different departments and the political head of the department is called a minister. As a representative of the people, the minister has to carry out the work of the department by giving priority to public welfare. Like we had seen the health minister, we had seen the finance minister, we had seen the agriculture minister. So they had the responsibility to take a proper decision, but the function are in the hands of the civil servant, those who work with the people, those who work to the different territories. The minister may not be expert in a particular subject, but he or she is conscious of broad public interest. The secretary of the department gives expert advice to the minister. You had seen in many news channels or many times in movies, the secretaries give suggestion, or you had seen a certain kind of meeting happens with the higher authority people, and they take decisions from that, and the action are also taken by those officers. The aspirations of the people and administrative expertise are thus put in harmony in the parliamentary system. What is harmony? Harmony means happiness, because government functions for the welfare of the people. Now, what is the characteristics of the bureaucracy? What are the characteristics? Characteristics mean function. What are the important role that bureaucrats play? First, take the permanent mechanism. Why they are permanent mechanism? Because they are not depend upon the government, right? If government gets changed after the election, the position of bureaucrats remains the same. So that's why their job is called as permanent. Yes, there are different things. If there are any allegations, if there are any allegations or illegal act done by any bureaucrat, then they are removed from their job. But they are not depend upon the government, and also they are not partial. They don't support any kind of favorism to government. For example, just an example, as we had seen in past, we have the Congress government in our country. Now we have BJP government in our country. So the bureaucrat that works under the Congress government, they can't say that I won't support the BJP leaders, or the bureaucrats that support the BJP government, that say he can't say that I won't work for the Congress government. No, their job is to give the proper function to the governmental services and system. Permanent mechanism. Tax collection, environment protection, maintenance of law and order, provisions regarding social security are certain important tasks that have been consistently undertaken by the bureaucracy. These are the few important departments that are taken by the bureaucrats. You have many times seen the income tax officers or income tax commissioner. They are the bureaucrats. This is the possible because bureaucracy is a permanent mechanism. They don't work under the pressure of government. The Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers change after every election, but the bureaucracy under their control remains constant. It is permanent in nature. So that's make the job important. They are not dependent upon the government. So that's why they should take a fair decision. Political neutrality. What do you mean neutrality? Being a neutral, don't give support to anyone, don't give any favor to anyone. So they are politically neutral. They doesn't bother about the political party. They work under the system. That's it. The bureaucracy is politically neutral. This means that regardless of the political party in power, the bureaucracy is supposed to carry out the implementation of their policy decisions with the same efficiency and commitment. So they work on the same level, may not matter which political party is there. In this regard, the civil servants should abstain from taking a political stand or act according to their political views. So they don't work according their own political views. If a political party fails to win election, it has to leave government and other party that wins election comes to power. We know it is a simple process in our parliamentary system. If any political party gets majority, they make their government, and if any political party loses the election or they lost the power, so they moved from that system. So but here the bureaucratic system remains the same. The new government may change some policies of the earlier government. Even in such case, the bureaucracy is expected to remain neutral while discharging its duties. Okay. Next is anonymity. What does the anonymity means? Anonymity means if any failure happens or any decision went wrong, we won't held responsible the bureaucrats. We will say the responsibility will be in the hands of those minister or the chief minister or prime minister. So anonymity means that a civil service should not be held directly responsible for any success or failure of policy. It is the minister who is responsible for the efficient and smooth functioning of the concerned departments. It is the minister who, as the head of the department, is accountable. What is accountable? Responsible for any efficiency. Civil servants are never publicly criticized. Yes, publicly they are not criticized. You had also seen for any protest or for any wrong act, people blame the government. They don't blame the civil servants. The parliament holds the minister responsible for malpractices. If any wrongful act done, what are the malpractices? Any wrongful deed or act happened. So the people would take the responsibility on the minister, not the civil servant. In such case, the minister bears the responsibility and protects the bureaucracy. So it is a complete responsibility of the minister. He took the responsibility and bears the decisions or any kind of act done by their own name. So it is very much clear. We had seen what are the important functions of the bureaucrats. Please underline each function and make a note point wise, so you should remember it. What we had learned, we had seen permanent mechanism. Yes, it is very much important. You can imagine if there is any kind of political pressure on them, will they work fairly? Right, in many movies we had seen the IT people raids and certain firms or certain company, then they get certain calls from different leaders. They refuse to take the call and they don't take any kind of pressure because they know their job is permanent. It is not dependent upon the government. Even the political neutrality, it is very much important. Every people have their own view. Even the civil servant also gives vote As we know, any person can give vote to any one political party. For example, if civil servant had given vote to, just example, to BJP, and if Congress wins the election, will they take revenge from them? No, never. Anonymity, it is also very much important. If civil servant will criticize in publicly, how will they function, how will they do their work? So these things are very much clear in our system. So hope you understand the important functions or the characteristics of the bureaucracy, and also about the work of the bureaucracy. Okay, good.